The book of Proverbs isn't a collection of ancient life hacks. It's a wake-up call for people on the cliff of destruction. It's not for life hackers. It's for desperate, broken people who are drowning in the consequences of bad choices and bad habits and tragic relationships, who need some rails to run on, who need some absolutes to integrate into their life and become a moral stint for their dying souls. That's what Proverbs is. It is a black and white way of looking at the world needed for people who have been in the moral gray for too long. The book of Proverbs is the ultimate antivirus for postmodernism. And Solomon sets the stage for this book with 3 facts about wisdom. Number 1, you can be better. You can be better. Number 2, you can father yourself. And number 3, wisdom is not a short-term strategy. Number 1, beginning with Proverbs 1:7, you can be better. Every man has a life, and that life is a kingdom, and that kingdom reflects the state of that man's heart. When Solomon begins the book of Proverbs, he doesn't say, my father should have taught me these things, but he didn't. He doesn't say, I shouldn't have had to teach myself these things, and you shouldn't have to teach yourself these things. But look at us here. Life is a meaningless wreck. Discipline is impossible. You can never become what you want to be. No. There is a golden thread in Solomon's thought. It guides all of his wisdom. It guides all of his advice. It guides all of his insight into godliness and self-control and ruling the inner and outer domains of male life. What is the key to Solomon's temple? What is the secret of his wisdom? What is the key to his thought? You can be better. You can be better. You can be better. Don't ever tell yourself that self-improvement is hopeless or stupid or meaningless or cliche. You can improve yourself, and you ought to. Don't ever tell yourself that you're too far gone. You're not too far gone. You're right here, right now, and you have a choice. Don't ever tell yourself that you don't have the power to get up, dust yourself off, wipe away your tears, and emerge from your apathetic fog, pick up your sword, and start training. You are always only a single choice away from that. Solomon begins with a common verse. Solomon gives us an entryway into the book through Proverbs 1:7. He says, this common verse, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, and fools despise wisdom and instruction. You can start training today for 2 reasons, Solomon says. Number 1, if you're really bad at becoming a better person, you can become better at becoming a better person. Okay? If you're really bad at becoming a better person, you can become better at becoming a better person. And number 2, you need to start being better, because there is a God and he commands your sword, and you are a soldier in his ranks. That's where you must begin, Solomon says. If you're bad at becoming better, you can be better at being better, and you need to start being better because you belong to God, and you need to recognize that. You can be better at being better, and it is unfathomably worthwhile to achieve self-improvement. You say to yourself, I've tried so many times to be better, but I just can't. I can't because I'm so sinful, and I can't do it because I'm a sinner. Garbage. False. Untrue. You are strong. You are equipped. Do not arrogantly despise the gifts and power with which God has endowed you as an image bearer. Even when you get bludgeoned in the head, you can focus your eyes. Okay? You can focus your eyes long enough to get your bearings and get back to fighting and get back to training. So do that. Get your bearings. Focus your eyes. The only reason you think you can't be better than you are is because you have accepted your mental fog and your moral failings as immutable and insurmountable. And we as men so commonly accept as normal what is harmful and toxic to us because we despise wisdom and instruction, because we have failed to fear God. You can be better That is the premise of the book of Proverbs. But what is the propulsion of the book? What are you actually doing with what you're doing? This leads to Proverbs 1:8. You can father yourself. You can father yourself. Solomon writes in Proverbs 1:8, hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Most men grow up disconnected from their fathers. I certainly did. Your dad is like a god, and as you get older and you realize how poorly he equipped you for your life, it's easy to become resentful of him. The older you get, the more you find yourself entangled in sins, and you just wonder, like, why didn't you train me? Why didn't you prepare me? Why didn't you help me become the best man I could be and warn me about these things and train me to fight these things because they're consuming my life? We find ourselves being normal men. And normal men are ill-equipped to engage in concentrated battle with demons that we meet as adolescents, which will seek for the rest of our lives to drag us down to hell. Men do not have the software programmed into them to fight the viruses of this world. They need to program themselves. That's how the book of Proverbs begins. Solomon, the great redactor and author of this book, decides to end the cycle of resentment. Everything came so easy for his father, David, who was always too gifted and overly prepared to defeat his combatants. And Solomon had darker demons. He saw the real possibility that in a single generation, the Davidic kingdom could slide from light into darkness, all hanging on whether he allowed his heart to slide from light into darkness. That's all the book of Proverbs is about, keeping your heart in the light. And Solomon breaks the cycle of resentment, of sons blaming fathers. He breaks that by taking full responsibility for himself and setting by example for the reader of the book of Proverbs the moral ownership that reader ought to replicate. Solomon doesn't say, resolve your past and then seek to do good. He doesn't say, if you didn't have a dad, it's okay if you don't want to sort of do these things, but, when you get around to it, it might be good. No. Unavoidable. Your life is the book of Proverbs, whether you accept it or not. This book was redacted and replicated over millennia because it works, because it's true for everybody. Every part of it is true for somebody at some time. And the fathership of the redactors of Proverbs toward the reader serves as a paternal proxy of divine wisdom for us. Okay, the book invites the reader. Of course, there is probably a literal son, but because the book is the product of redaction, it is also baked into the meaning of the text that the son is the reader. Okay, and the book serves as a fatherly, paternal proxy for us, giving us dad wisdom. Dad wisdom. None of us had perfect fathers. Far from it. But we have the book of Proverbs. And what is the most important thing that sons need to know before they become fathers? To have a moral principle for which you're willing to give your life. Most guys get it from their dads. Many guys don't have the opportunity to. You need to find a moral principle worth sacrificing your life for, worth bragging about, something to wear on your sleeve, right? That's how Solomon describes wisdom right after he says, listen to your father's teaching. He says, wisdom is your father's instructions and your mother's wisdom. They are a graceful garland for you to wear and pendants for your neck. If you don't have moral principles, you will die. That's what Proverbs calls the road to death. You will become a bad guy. You will become an accomplice to evil. You will be dragged by the worst evils in this world to join their ranks. You will become culpable for the harm of many and for the harm of yourself. Human beings are powerful. That's why spiritual warfare exists. That's why morality exists. In spiritual currency, human choices are the gold standard of the spiritual battleground. The human choice has more cash value, is worth its weight in gold, more than anything else in this world, which God has deigned to sanctify as the place of combat for significant events. And if you fail to identify and live with integrity according to certain moral principles, you are already a frog boiling in a pot. Solomon says, quote, "My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, 'Come with us,' let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive and whole. Like those who go down to the pit, we shall find precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths." It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to walk in their paths. As Jordan Peterson says, do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. If you are expedient in one area of life, you will be expedient in every area of life. And if you don't have a guiding moral principle, an ideal for which you would give your life, then you are already a part of this group of thieves. You are already a member. You are a nameless, faceless animal in the get for yourself world. If you don't have a moral principle guiding your behaviors, it will be impossible to say no to evil. It will be impossible. So find one and wear it. Don't let yourself sit without a moral principle, without an ideal. Okay? Let everyone call you a goody two-shoes. Let them call you a little Christian boy. Let them call you a cuck. And they will. But you know what? You are being a man. And he who lives his life according to an incorruptible moral principle is a bare-chested, red-blooded, admirable leader. And that's not just a fairy tale or a comic book or a Dark Knight cliche. That's the book of Proverbs, verse by verse. That is my life and death each day. That is your life and death each day. Whether or not we remember it, this is our life. We either have a moral principle that is worthwhile and true, or we do not. And we either follow it in a worthwhile and true way, or we do not. One is the path of life. One is the path of death. One is the path to exaltation. One is the path to swift destruction. And every day we make that choice implicitly with our choices. 3, wisdom is not a short-term strategy. What does this mean? You don't have to climb a mountain to get wisdom. Everything you need to do these things, everything you need to not walk in the way of these thieves, everything you need to fear the Lord and to avoid being a fool and to heed instruction, it is not ethereal. It is not impossible to grasp. It doesn't require Herculean strength to attain it. You don't have to wrestle a grizzly bear to get wisdom. You don't have to lift a large amount of weight to get wisdom. It's right there. All you have to do is take a couple of minutes in the morning to orient yourself. Orientation, that is the way of wisdom. What's the essence of wisdom? It's not perfection. You can get sometimes reading the book of Proverbs the idea that wisdom means being perfect. No. It's not about being holier than thou. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's not about convincing yourself you can be perfect, because you can't, obviously. We all know this. It's not perfection. It's not a track record, and it's not age. Wisdom is just direction. Wisdom is merely your direction. Wisdom is just direction. So Solomon, he personifies wisdom, and he writes, "Wisdom cries aloud in the street. If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you." Proverbs 1:23. What do you need to be wise? Perfect yourself? No. Build a track record? No. Study for 8 hours? No. Pray for an hour in your closet? No. That's all it says. If you turn at my reproof, I will make my words known to you. If you know how to turn in the right direction, the path will make itself known to you. What does this look like? You wake up in the morning. You want to masturbate. Do you do it? No. Oh, guess what? You did it. Now what do? Now you turn. Your day isn't ruined. We're not trying to build a track record. We're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to turn in the right direction every opportunity we can. Next obstacle. You want to unload your emotional anxiety on your spouse as soon as they wake up. What do? You center yourself. You turn from that path. Do you do it? No, you don't do it. You choose life. You choose to be strong. Whoever listens to me will dwell secure and be at ease, without dread of disaster. Proverbs 1:33. Be steady. Turn toward God. Wisdom is right there. You're not empty. You're not on E. Wisdom is right there. That's Solomon's point. Wisdom is right there for the taking. It's right there. You want to do this? Do you do it? What do I have to do to be wise? You just have to go the right way. You just have to turn in the right direction. It's not on top of a mountain. It's not elusive. It's not imaginary. It's right there. People have developed entire skill sets to learn how to avoid God, how to avoid wisdom, how to turn the other way, how to convince themselves that they can't turn in the right direction, that they don't have a choice. Solomon, writing as the voice of wisdom, says, the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. Proverbs 1:32. Life is like a man suspended in air. Think of it like that. And wisdom, which is practical moral principles, is like a plane taking you somewhere through the air. And that's why traditional values are so important. It's a list of endorsements from people of the past who have gotten on that plane. This plane gets you to where you want to go in life. Trust me, it makes you happy. Sin and foolishness and refusal to improve yourself is like a man falling out of a skyscraper, right? And the entire time he's falling out of that building, there's no pain. He's fine. He's floating in the air. And then, one day, destruction finds him, and it will find you. That's how the Bible often speaks of calamity and death as a net, as a trap, as a sudden calamity. And there is coming a day for you and for me when all of our reluctance to make ourselves better, all of our juking and mocking and implicitly avoiding and resisting God through our actions, we will reap a harvest of destruction. And Solomon, he writes, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. There is coming a day where wisdom will not matter. Too little, too late. That's not how wisdom works. Wisdom isn't a mode of repentance. It's a way of avoiding doing the thing for which you have to repent. Wisdom isn't retrospective. It has no value for your past. Wisdom only has value for your future. It's made of small component parts. It's made of one action at a time. That is the fundamental atom. That is the atomic structure of wisdom. It is built of your choices. How wise you are is constituted by the choices you make. How integrous is your body of choices, is your body of work? Does it say wisdom? If it doesn't, you are not wise. You can't build wisdom in a manner of days, and you can't reap the benefits of wisdom in a manner of days. You need wisdom to push forward. I can be better. I can turn toward wisdom, in the direction of wisdom every day. That is wisdom. We forget how to dig deep for discipline and for vision and for clarity and for purpose. And we settle for fog and complacency and apathy because we forget what we're fighting for. We forget that we're even fighting. We want to dig into whatever aggressive energy we can find and pursue every chance to turn toward wisdom that we can find. But if you don't have a moral principle, that turning will be hollow and frail. In the Two Towers, after being rid of possession by demonic wizard Sauron, Gandalf says to King Theoden, he says, your fingers would remember their old strength better if they grasped your sword. When was the last time you remembered the battle you were fighting? When was the last time you felt the blood flow to your spiritual nerves? I'm in this. Something's happening. There's a call. I have orders. I have a fight. Somebody's strangling me. Or are you just passed out? Are you just PTFO? What was it about again? What was life about again? Oh, well, I'll just go to work. What was your life about again? If you've forgotten, then you are lost, and you know you're lost. And your life is spent trying to forget the fact that you're lost because you just don't know how to get back. I've lost myself in foolish indulgences and pursuits for years at a time. And I will never get those years back. How many years are you willing to lose because you didn't take the opportunity in front of you now, right now, to seriously reckon with the question, have you lost sight of what you should be fighting for? Have you lost sight of the fight? Do not sacrifice your life by turning away from wisdom. Turn toward wisdom. Remember the purpose that gave you endless drive when you were younger, and do what needs to be done to get that back and go back in that direction. That's the best version of wisdom any of us is ever going to get, to turn back to life, to turn back toward being awake. Have you lost that? Are you numb? Be honest with yourself. This is what the Apostle Paul says so urgently in Ephesians 5. He says, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate knowledge? How long have I gotten away with my foolishness under the delusion that I've really gotten away with something? Too long. Too long. I can be better. I can father myself. And wisdom is a long-term solution I am happy and willing and eager to invest in. And the only way I can communicate that to God and to myself and to the world is one action at a time. And so can you.